What we got here is about a 3-pound or 4-pound chuck roast. It came from Butcher Box. I got it gifted to me by my brother in January. It's been in the freezer. It's mostly thawed out, still a little bit frozen. We got a little bit of a fat cap over here at the end, which I'm not going to take off. I'm going to smoke this low and slow and just basically cut it off towards the end because it'll help with the moisture. And I'm going to cut these into burnt ends anyway. So I'll cut this off at the end instead of now, which will help in the cooking process. We're going to hit this with some Worcestershire sauce, a 50-50 salt, pepper, coarse grind, just to get some bark on there, and then layer it with some of this flavor, this Yardbird seasoning, which is basically sugar and spices. Hit it with some of that Worcestershire. Go all around. This is going to bind, basically. This is all I'm using it for. Alright, now what we want to do is throw that seasoning on there and then that seasoning on there in layers. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to wrap this thing up kind of loose and put it in the refrigerator, let some of this soon-to-be bark just kind of set onto the meat, let the meat kind of, absorb some of this seasoning, and then we're going to fire up the smoker to 225. So for this cook, what I'm assuming is going to happen is I'm going to set this thing to about 225 degrees, somewhere between 215 and 230. And we're going to cook it low and slow until the internal temperature gets to 160 or so. We're going to take it out, wrap it into the butcher paper, and then finish it until it gets to around 200, 203 degrees, just like you would a brisket. It's probably going to be a lot faster. This is Lump Charcoal, Jealous Devil brand. And we're going to use some oak and some hickory for smoke, because these are they're all woody, but this is kind of extra woody, and the barbecue sauce at the end is going to be sweet. So I'm going to try to contrast the bitterness and the woodiness with the sweet after flavor. This is a fire starter. We're going to put this underneath, kind of put it all to one side so it all ignites. We're going to light that thing. The whole neighborhood gets mad when I presume gets mad when I start grilling. All right, this guy's gonna get all this charcoal going. It's gonna take probably about 15 minutes for this whole thing to start doing what it's got to do. This is definitely low and slow, so I'm gonna go back inside for a little bit. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. I'm gonna open this thing up. It's definitely not ready to go yet, but just want to show you guys what this looks like to get this going, what the process looks like. So you see a really hot flame under there, but I want all this to catch. What's going to happen, this is by trial and error, if you start now and you just put these deflector plates on right away, you're going to get to your temperature, then you're going to overshoot your temperature because it is not a stable flame yet. It's going to go up way, way high. So I'm going to put these down to about that much, and I'm going to I'm going to choke the air out, probably about half right now. I'm just going to go away and let this thing do what it's got to do. All right, checking in about 25 minutes in, and now this thing is really chooching. We're still not there yet. Oh yeah, it's not. We're not there yet. I want it to go for maybe another 10 minutes. Get all these guys lit. I'll move this around, and then I'll add the wood, and I'll make sure that is done smoldering and smoking for about 10 minutes. You don't want to put any meat into this thing when you're seeing white smoke. You want blue smoke. Blue smoke. I went back inside to go get the probe thermometer. This one's really cool. This one's kind of essential if you're going to be doing any smoking. It's got two probes in there, right? So one's going to be for the meat and one's going to be for the grate. I want to know what temperature the actual heat is on the smoker, on the barbecue. So this contraption right there, the little clamp, they're going to go in between two grates, and it's going to basically hold this probe thermometer. Instead of inside of a piece of meat, it's going to be right above where the heat source is. I'm going to have two deflector plates there, so you're not going to get any direct heat. They're two big, large ceramic plates. But this, you know, is going to tell me from the inside what temperature the actual heat is on the smoker. And then the other probe, the one that's not connected to that clamp, is going to be right inside the chuck. So I'm going to know what the internal temperature is there at all times too. So at this point, all the big coals, all the big pieces have ignited. I think we're ready for this wood. So I'm going to throw this oak right over there. I'm going to throw this, what is this, hickory I said? I'm going to throw that right over there. Alright, this is going to smell amazing. For the first 10 or 15 minutes, it's going to be white smoke billowing out of this thing. We don't want that, so smoke some of this. I'm going to throw these deflector plates over. Perfect system. Next, we're going to throw this guy right here, and I'm going to put one of these pans, this like pan, underneath to catch any of the juices from the meat. Just like that. I'm going to throw these grates on like this. So that's a good setup. And I'm going to bring this to temperature. I'm going to attach the probe thermometer. And I'm going to put it right about over here, right in the middle. Right in the middle. So it's above the grate, so you can see. I'm just going to close it so I can monitor the temp. I don't really go by this. Close this down. About that much. Close this guy. About that much, and let's just see where this brings us. Right now it's at 87. Yeah, so I want to bring that to 225. Whole yard smells incredible, amazing right now. Can't find the words. It is really, really something good. This might be hard for you to see, but there is smoke coming out, obviously, of the kamado, and the color is still white. You don't want white, like I said before. My understanding, I could be wrong, my understanding is the white is basically the, I'm not going to go and say harmful, but the contaminants, the stuff that makes food bitter. When they say they don't like smoky food or smoked food because it's like too smoky or too bitter, this is the stuff that makes it bitter or sour or like rancid, the white stuff. You want to cook out the white smoke. When you get blue smoke, just like the restaurant, the Danny Meyer restaurant, when you get that blue smoke, that clear kind of smoke, that's when you want to put the meat on. So we're not there yet. We're at 191 degrees anyway. We got to get to 225, but we're getting there. So here we are. We're about ready to put some stuff onto this grill. It's still smoking white, so I'm going to wait. The dome temperature says it's right around 200, 210 degrees Fahrenheit, which is good for smoking, but I don't really go by this. I go by where the grill grate is, and we're about 228. When that goes back, you'll see it's 228. This is, if there's an intimidating or a difficult part about this, it's this. It's maintaining temperature to where you got to get it to. It does a really good job of maintaining the temperature once you get it there, but to get it there and to keep it there, that's the challenge. So I'm gonna keep this where it's at. I like this setting, this kind of opening. Do you see the smoke going in there? That's pretty cool. Maybe. But I'm gonna close this just a little bit and see what happens. It takes like that's enough, maybe a little bit more. That's enough. You don't know if it's gonna keep going or if it's gonna stop right there. So if it's anywhere between here and like 240, 235, I'll be happy. But you gotta make little adjustments to get it there. So I made that little adjustment. I'm gonna see what happens in the next 10 minutes. we're good to go. This settled in at about 234. It's not going to make or break anything. 234, 225. It might go up and down a degree or two. This thing is really good at keeping in the heat. 234 is fine. I would want a 225, but 234. Now here's the funky part. I'm going to get this guy, who looks really, really good. I'm going to get him onto the grill. This is cold. This is hot. What I used to fall victim to, I put a cold piece of, big mass inside this hot thing, and then the internal temperature of this guy would go down like 20 degrees immediately. And I would, what I would do is I would start messing around with this to make it hotter. Oh no, I'm gonna ruin my... So by the time, the reason it went down, the temperature, is because I just put all of this cold stuff into this hot thing, and science happens. So I'm just gonna leave this alone. What I learned the hard way is just put this in. The temperature is gonna fluctuate, but it'll come right back because I'm not changing any of the settings over here or down over there. I'm also going to throw some of this beer into that little rack. So let's do this. Let's see, 225, 235. All right, see what's going on? Let's throw... That's fine. And then the fat will drip in a little bit from me. Let's throw this guy right over. All right, let's throw it right over, and let's just close it in like a half hour. Let me come back. Let me come back and stick that probe thermometer in like a half hour. Look, case in point, it was at 235, 234 when I put the meat in. The left side is the internal temperature. Right now it's creeping at 225. So actually that's perfect for me. But my suspicion is that this guy right here, the internal temperature of that meat is 33 degrees. That's pulling the whole internal temperature of that whole dome, that whole kamado down. So when this 33 starts to creep up into the 40s, 50s, this 225, my assumption, is going to get back up to 230, 235. But that's fine. And we're going to be here for 4 hours, 5 hours anyway. All right, it's been smoking for about an hour. You can see the blue smoke is coming out of here. There's no more white smoke. It's at 233 degrees, so it creeped back up to where it's got to go. So now they say if you are looking, you ain't cooking, but I'm going to open this thing up and give it a little bit of a spritz. That's pretty nice. There's no real bark right now, but I do want to keep it. Actually, it looks really moist, but I am going to spritz it with some of this right here. Some of that. This is just apple cider vinegar. I don't want, really, it's important to get the sides. You don't want those getting too dry. Now, there is a big fat cap over here and a lot of fat over here. This is all fat, and I'm going to get rid of that at the end because you don't want to eat that. You don't want to chew on the fat. Well, some people do if you're on keto or some stupid shit. All right. So here is what it looks like after an hour. Probably got another 4 or 5 hours left to go. 2 hours in. Internal temperature is about 149. We're at 225, so this is good. Let's open this thing up. Burp it first. Okay, now that is looking pretty fantastic. Let me get out of the way. Look at this. Look at this. Pretty intense. All right, so now this is definitely starting to get a little bit dry. So we do want to spritz it. Spritz the sides. Spritz the sides. This aroma is intense. It is insanity right now. All right, let me hit the other side. Nice. This is looking exactly what we want it to look like, but it's nowhere near done, but it's looking really good. And there's some fat kind of collecting on the bottom, which maybe we can make a nice sauce with later, or maybe not, who knows. But this looks pretty insane. All right, 2 hours in. So we've reached a point where the meat is in something that's called the stall. Now, this is very sciencey, and I'm not going to describe the science to you, but very, very basically, the juices, the water that's inside the meat is evaporating and melting and going away at a point where it is slowing down the temperature of the cook. So it's been at 146, 147 for probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and it might stay here for who knows how long. Sometimes the stall is an hour, sometimes the stall is 2 hours. When you're smoking meat, at low temperatures, it does this weird thing where it just stays there. Don't panic. Just don't change the temperature. Don't go crazy high. It might be here for a while, and then all of a sudden it goes to 148, 149, 150, 151. Usually this happens much closer to like 170, 180, but this is a smaller piece of meat, and it's been at 147 for a while, and this is officially the stall. So, be good. All right, we're almost 5 hours into the cook. We're past the stall. We're at 150 degrees, and the meat, it was stuck at 147 for, I don't know, almost 2 hours, which is impressive for a little guy like this. But let's open this up. And spritz, look at that. A lot of the size of this guy, it's reduced. A lot of the fat, a lot of the liquid inside has evaporated. So we're still going to spritz with some vinegar, especially the sides over here. I'm going to let that... It's actually still pretty tough. That tastes amazing. So we're going to keep that going. Oh, it tastes incredible. The bark tastes incredible. We're going to keep that going for probably another hour. At this point, it's much later than I thought it was going to be. But we're going to keep that going for not so much the time, but the temp of the meat. When it gets to 160, 10 more degrees, we're going to wrap it in butcher paper and keep it going to about 200. All right, so it's been a really nice day, and I got a little carried away, and my white ass got sunburned. Can you believe that? It's 60 degrees outside, and I am sunburned. All right, we're at about 160. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open this guy up, and we're gonna take this, take the probe out. Okay, we're gonna take that probe out, put this meat onto this plate. Ooh, it's gonna fall apart. Very nice. And we're gonna put this guy, we're gonna close him while we crank the heat up a little bit, okay? I'm gonna open that up to get some more air in there. And in the meantime, if this was with aluminum foil, it would be called the Texas crutch. But it's with butcher paper, which is a respected and well-known Texas kind of cooking, smoking technique. We're gonna wrap this guy up really tight, okay? Wrap him up really tight. And now just kind of fold it over and over and over. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. So what we've got now is this little package. I'm going to put this butcher paper right back onto the smoker. It's at 160 now. And we're going to bring this guy up to about 200 degrees. By the time it hits 200 degrees, it should be, they call it probe tender. And it's going to basically be like, actually I should put this thing back in. It's going to be like poking a bag of butter. That's what they say. Like, it's going to feel like butter. So I'll be back in a couple of hours. 7 hours and 20 minutes in, we have hit 200 degrees. It's around now where you want to start checking. Anywhere from like 200 to 203 is kind of that sweet spot. So let's open this thing up. That's what that looks like on the bottom. I'm sure it's going to be really juicy. It is really soft. You're going to want to pick it up and kind of see if, oh yeah, the bottom is completely soaked. Look at that. It feels like it's bendable, like it's got very little give. That's kind of what you're looking for. All right, so I think at this point this is going to be done. Let me move this probe thermometer around a little bit. Maybe that's not a good idea because it's 200 degrees, but it should very easily move around. And it is, look, it's pulling out. Look at that. Nothing. There's no give at all. All right, this is definitely done. Let me put this on this cutting board over here and let it just kind of rest for a little while. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. For about half an hour, it's at 200 plus degrees. We're gonna open up the butcher paper to expose the goodness and give you guys a money shot. Kind of smells, honestly, like a bit like pepperoni. It's a weird.
It does smell like pepperoni.
It's kind of weird. Oh man, look at that. It's pretty insane. All right, let's see if we can get this on the cutting board without. Very interesting. Okay.
Think it's done?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's done.
That's what we do. I try to do like 20, so I have 3 classes.
This is that fat cap that I said I was gonna get rid of.
It's good.
So let me start over here. This with the money shot. Always want to cut against the grain. Obviously, it looks like the grain is going this way. So let me just cut this piece off, and then I'll slice it correctly. First off, let's see what we got going on. Okay, definitely a smoke ring. You can definitely notice there's a pretty distinct smoke ring. Is it juicy? Yeah, it's juicy. You see that? Let's just cut this against the grain and see what we got going on. I guess I'm gonna cut it kind of like a brisket. Ridiculous.
I can.
Oh my god.
I know
Come on. Taste test.
And then I know how to
Keep that trip. I tore that, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow, thank God I have a
Oh my god, no in your mouth.
That's pretty awesome. Alright. So this is good. This is really good. You could eat it like that. But I'm going to make burnt ends with it. So I'm going to cut these into squares. And people might kill me, but I'm going to soak them in barbecue sauce and put them back on the grill. Alright, this is what the final product looks like. Bubbling, steaming, goodness. Burnt ends, made from chuck. Poor man's burnt ends. Poor man's brisket. Very meaty, very good. About 9 hours worth of work. So it's a good thing I ordered Thai today instead of waiting for dinner.